All right, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Whenever you hear this message, I pray that you're poised to receive, to accept, and to respond to words of wisdom. Ashe. So last night we had our Odu study group, during which we had a good conversation. The featured Odu that we discussed, or the featured verse, I should say, that we discussed, was really emphasizing the importance of setting healthy boundaries and emphasizing the outcomes, the consequences of failure to maintain healthy boundaries. And I've been reflecting on the conversation really all day. And I decided that I would like to share some of the lessons with the general public, because I think they're pertinent to the big picture of what's happening in this particular moment within Orisha Lifestyle. We're at a really pivotal moment in our development as a community. And let me tell you what I mean. Historically, Orisha Lifestyle is the basis of Yoruba civilization. You know, it's why we say it has religion, but it's not a religion per se. Ogun is, in addition to being a deity, is the bringer of a series of vocations and skills, working with iron, working with wood, things like that. Shango, Obatala, all of the deities are associated with the organizing principles of Yoruba civilization, which is why when you go to every kingdom, each Yoruba kingdom is established by and maintained by a particular Orisha. It's not just a spiritual thing. It's about the work that was done in that particular kingdom, what they are known for in terms of how they work, how they build, what they bring to the society overall. And so that's the legacy and the inheritance that West Africans have when it comes to Orisha lifestyle, right? Of course, colonization has changed people's perception and all that kind of stuff, but the reality of it is the Orisha are associated with work. They're associated with crafts. They're associated with vocations, okay? And that's the identity of the people. That's why we venerate Obatala, because he brought clay. We venerate Obalufon because he brought, weaving, and so on and so forth. But then when you get to the diaspora, the experience is really different, right? We were ripped out of our indigenous civilizations and brought into a place where we were made to work to create other people's civilization. And, we're seeking refuge with Orisha, right? We're seeking refuge with Orisha. And so when you get into the modern era, like let's say from the 1960s, the 1970s, 1980s, and so on, and people are literally discovering and rediscovering Orisha in diaspora, you get people who are coming with some really acute and specific kinds of trauma and problems. Maybe they've got health problems that the doctor couldn't solve. Maybe they got legal problems that the lawyer couldn't solve. Maybe they've got social problems that their community members, their friends, their family couldn't solve. So they're coming to Orisha to solve these problems, okay? And the reason why this is significant is because a lot of times the people get their problems solved and then they stay. They hang out and become members of the community, right? Which is different from if you went to a mechanic, or you went to a lawyer, or you went to a dentist, or you went to a doctor, or you went to a social worker, you went to a psychologist. You don't stay hanging out with the psychologist or the dentist or the mechanic, right? They don't formulate a community around, dental hygiene, right? So this is what makes our tradition particular, okay? Now, the downside to that is that you get people who are, or you get a culture that is characterized by trauma bonding. You get all these people who are coming in, and they're coming from who knows where, and they've experienced whatever kind of hardship and trauma, and then their problems get solved, and they hang out and they meet with one another, and they, and the only way they really know to engage with the tradition is through the trauma that I experienced, the pain that I went through, what the tradition means to me is in terms of resolving my pain and helping me deal with this hardship and this adversity, which is totally different from people whose roads were built and cities were built and kingdoms were built. And you understand what I'm saying? It's a different mindset. It's a different mindset. And I don't mean to say one is better than the other per se, but I just mean to say these are different mindsets. All right. And so when you bring those two together, that is people who are coming from diaspora and are trauma bonding, and you have people who have inherited this for hundreds and hundreds of generations, and they don't even really remember how this civilization, this kingdom was established, and how this part of the city was established, and how this vocation was established. They don't even remember that. It's so embedded into their way of life that they wouldn't even be able to tell you where it starts. And you bring those two people together, well, the people from West Africa don't know how to tell you how to build a civilization in the diaspora. So it's like, it becomes a sickness model, right? The way we work becomes a sickness model. When you have a problem, come and see me. Once I solve your problem, I don't have anything else for you, right? So it reinforces this idea for people in the diaspora that the only way I engage with the culture and the only way I engage with the tradition is through my trauma and my hardship. And so when people don't have any more problems and then they don't know how to act, what do? They create problems. They create hardship. They create drama, because that's the only means of communication and engagement that they really are comfortable with. It's the only way they know how this culture works. So right now, however, we're starting to see an uptick in people who are not coming to the tradition with trauma. We're seeing people who are coming to the tradition with vision. We're seeing people coming to the tradition with ideas, with plans, with intentions, people who want to create things, people who want to lead things, right? And they're ready, willing, and able to address any kinds of problems that they meet along the way to building things, but they don't want to be just engaging with a whole bunch of problems and back and forth, right? And so that population is increasing. These are people who they're not interested in the gossip. They're not interested in the naysaying. They're not interested in the bickering and the one-upsmanship and the blah 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 blah. They're just not interested in that. It turns them off, right? And so this is where we get to the lesson. Because if you are one of those people and you find yourself in circles with people, either you're online or in person, and you can't understand why they just keep going back and forth, and they just keep seeming to all they want to do is argue and quarrel and fight and bicker and you're trying to figure out the reasoning of it all, and you can't seem to figure it out. That's a good indicator. This is where you need to draw a boundary. Okay? This is where you need to draw a boundary. And you need to recognize, hey, we're not here doing the same thing. So I will do this ceremony with you. I will practice this ritual with you. I will exchange this information with you, whatever. But that's where I draw the line. Other than that, we're not doing anything else. Right? I'm not interested in trauma bonding with you. Just doesn't serve me in any way, shape, or form. Okay? And this is why I like, quite honestly, the Alcoholics Anonymous, Narcotics Anonymous, that kind of stuff, the 12-step program. I like their mindset. I like the language, because for people who are coming from a traumatic experience and have sought refuge in Orisha, you also need to draw boundaries. You need to treat trauma and drama and gossip and all that mayhem and chaos and confusion. You need to treat that like addiction. You need to say, you know what? I am a recovering drama king. I'm a recovering drama queen. I'm a recovering trauma bonder. And just like an alcoholic will not step foot into a bar, some people need to not set foot in any kind of a, gossip environment or any kind of like, conflict kind of a setting. You need to treat it exactly the way an addict or, an alcoholic would treat it. You don't associate with the people who do those things. You know what I mean? You don't burn bridges, but you just know that I can't hang out with you. I can't be spending time with you. I can't go out with you. Oh, so where there's a wedding, I'll go to the wedding, but I can't go to the reception, right? Because you know that one taste is all it takes to send you down a rabbit hole of destruction. This is where I'm really encouraging people to draw really strong boundaries for yourself and for other people. And, I saw an interesting quote today that is attributed to Iyanla Vanzant, which is, boundaries aren't intended to keep people out. Boundaries are intended to set parameters for how people act when they come in. When you come here, we don't do certain things. If you're going to be a part of what we're doing in this environment, these are taboos. We don't engage in certain activities here. And if you have to engage in those activities, then you have to do them someplace else. All right. So that's the lesson for today. I hope it has been meaningful for you. And I look forward to hearing your experience. What do you think about the importance of establishing, maintaining, and really promoting strong, healthy boundaries within your practice of Orisha lifestyle? I'd love to hear your experience and your perspective in the comment section. Until then, I look forward to talking to you sooner than later. Bye for now. Odabo.